Alright, so today we're talking fingerstyle guitar. Again. But what it actually is, what it isn't, and mostly I just wanted to make a video that's pointed towards folks who need clarification in the matter. Also, those of you who have always wanted to make the jump in learning fingerstyle guitar, but you're still just waiting at the docks. Also, those of you who have made the jump and you're drowning in YouTube tutorials and wormholes. If any of that is you, I got you. Stop here, get in the boat, because after this, I think fingerstyle is going to feel a lot easier, simpler. It's a lot less complicated than people make it seem. Teaching this stuff day after day, I've kind of accidentally stumbled upon the fact that all the patterns and stuff you learn out there, it can be boiled down to one of two options. And that's it. Not to sound hyperbolic or anything, but honestly, that's it. So doing 4 steps, we'll talk about the roll of the thumb, how the fingers actually come into play, and we'll try to demystify a whole lot of stuff that's going on out there online right now. That was actually hard to say. Going on out there online right now. And I hope it gives you the jump start you need for a long drive across the fingerstyle landscape. I lost the thread. I lost the thread with my stumble. You know what I mean. Alright, for those of you who are still a little hazy as to what fingerstyle guitar actually is, as opposed to just playing with your fingers, you know, like in jazz and classical, look to the artists like Mississippi John Hurt, Big Bill Brunsey, Rev Gary Davis. While jazz and classical guitar are two of my favorite genres, fingerstyle guitar, as a genre, it's something very, very different. And in this idiom, it comes down to one of two things. You either pinch with your thumb or you stagger against your thumb. Simple as that. Let me explain. Let me explain. It's fine. It's only 120 years old. Alright, so that's what it isn't. What is fingerstyle guitar? What is it actually? Well, in a sense, it's pretty straightforward, right? Your thumb does some bass stuff, your fingers do some melody stuff, you put it all together, you are a happy camper. But that's not really the whole story. There are rolls here. Now I know artists don't like rolls, they don't like rules, but do yourself a kindness. Learn these rules and these conventions, and then the stuff you break away from later will be a lot more interesting. I promise you that. Your heart is meant to beat, your lungs are meant to breathe, and your thumb is meant to play on the strong beats. It's the laws of nature. What are the strong beats? Let's break it down. The thumb has a very exacting role with fingerstyle guitar. The foundation of the whole thing is created by your thumb moving on the quarter notes. If musical terms don't work for you, the beat you stomp your foot to, you tap your foot to, or you bob your head to when you're listening to music, that's usually on the quarter note. Now some players, like Blind Blake and Blind Boy Fuller, Rev Gary Davis, they actually push the quarter note a beat ahead, but that only like stabilizes and reinstates the gravity of the downbeats, right? So you learn this stuff knowing that as you break away from it later, you're actually still reinforcing it. The heartbeat of the whole thing is the quarter note. So step 1 for the thumb, keep it going 1, 2, 3, 4, or with your foot, whatever's easier. Go ahead and grab a G chord, grab the lowest note in that chord, and just practice doing this. Now try to keep it steady, and I'll show you some stylistic things you might hear with this monotonic or steady bass. That's called a monotonic bass. I also sometimes call it the steady bass because you just keep your basses steady. You can also alternate your basses. So with this G chord, you can go from the 6th string to the 4th string. And it's called alternate bass. So we'll see that changes that same kind of riff. So that sounds totally different to me, but the amazing thing is nothing changed except for my basses, the sound source. It's almost like a drummer. One rhythm on one drum sounds one way, and one rhythm across drums has a totally different sound. So the only thing that changed was the sound source, but the rhythm 1, 2, 3, 4, it it's steady. Now there are a lot of ways to work on maintaining that quarter note thumb, which I will get to in a minute, but first I want to push back on something that I hear a lot, and I know I've said it a lot, honestly, that eventually, you put in the work now, your thumb will just become autopilot in the future. It'll just go on autopilot. But honestly, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that because it's not like it's on autopilot. Your mind just goes from being fully active to thinking about the thumb to become more passive. It's almost like a familiar route home, right? You've done the route a million times, you've seen all the scenes, but you're still aware. You're not focused on the one thing anymore, and then you can think about something else. Maybe it's gonna be what you're gonna have for dinner, or maybe a split-second decision when a deer jumps in the road. For us as musicians, it's maybe what we wanna say with the music we're making. So the next step is getting your fingers into the mix. Now, I recommend starting with just one finger. We're going to do this little pattern. It's sometimes called alternating, but that's confusing because your thumb is also called alternating, which we will be doing in this example. So I call it staggering, right? Our finger is just going to stagger against the thumb. I'll go into greater detail on how to add more variation as we go, but just to check in everything we've talked about so far. First, the thumb, it's on the heavy beats, beats 1, 2, 3, 4, or where you stomp your foot. The finger, it's on the lighter beats, in between the thumbs, which is also called the up beats, the ands, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Take a second to just check in on these things. 1, 2, 3, 4. Don't worry about going painfully slow. The idea is you're building some foundational, fundamental techniques. Because from this point on is where we start to gain access to all the possibilities of that fingerstyle sound, the thing that makes fingerstyle sound the way it does. Speaking of access, if you join up on the Patreon page for free, if you become a free member, you gain access to all the tab examples from this video. You can also become a paid member where you get access to tab and slow play along. There are different tiers, you get different things, but nevertheless, join up today, you can get access to all those tabs. It is the place where you can continue to grow as a fingerstyle player for years to come. Link below. All right, so step 3 is adding the other option into the mix, that's adding the pinch. Now to the listener, it sounds like the easier of the two options, but to the player, it's actually kind of harder. So try pinching on beats 1 and 3. And now try flipping that and do beats 2 and 4. Kind of feels like you're gonna fall off the chair. Right? Do your best to actually switch between the two of them. See if you can loop that. So far we haven't added any other chords into the mix, and honestly it's because it opens up a huge can of worms as far as what your thumb does, but if you stick it with me as a bonus, step 5 at the end, I'll give you a few other chords and some ideas to get started. But first we got to do step 4. Now step 4 is what I'm calling the pinch and stagger. It's combining the two things, right? So remember, we only have these two options, pinching with the thumb or staggering against the thumb. Now, and I stand by that. It doesn't make things any easier. It's just simplifying the idea instead of learning a bunch of patterns, right? We just know there's a lot of freedom in knowing there's only two options. You either pinch with your thumb or you stagger against it. Now remember, we're talking about fingerstyle guitar almost as much as a genre as it is a technique. All right, so keep your eye on this tab here because it's gonna be a really good visual for what exactly is going on here with this pinch and stagger thing. So take a really simple melody, something like this, all pinches. What we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of just move the melody around with staggers. So I just kind of played it right before I used to pinch it. I can do the same thing with the third note. So I didn't change anything, I just staggered it. You can mix and match all this stuff. Now, if that was above your abilities, I'm gonna give you a couple ideas. I'm gonna put you in the sandbox, right? And you can use your imagination and run with it from there. Here are variations of the pinch and stagger. always slow it down here on YouTube, or join up on the Patreon where you have access to a slow play along, kind of more of like an analog, the old fashioned slow down way where I just play it slower. Either way, whatever you want to do, we're going to sneak over here to bonus tip number 5, step 5, how to do everything we just did, the pinching, the staggering, the moving thumb with other chords, because not every chord you have has a bass note on the 6th string, you know? So G does, F does, E does, but C and D and A, they have different bass roots, right? So here's a little tip. Any chord you have with the bass note on the 6th string, you travel to the 4th string, 6 to 4. Any chord you have with the bass on the 5th string, you travel to the 4th string. D is kind of a weird one, where D is the root on the 4th string. And in that instance, you can travel every direction you want. You can go up to the 3rd string or down to the 5th string, which does bring up the subject of moving basses in the downward direction, but that's a whole nother video for a whole nother time. In the meantime, if you want to learn more about fingerstyle guitar from a musical standpoint, how to actually learn this technique from songs, you can check out this video I have here with three fingerstyle songs that will actually teach you fingerstyle without patterns, without anything like that. But everything I just said will hold true, so you can watch that next. Thanks for being here.